Welcome to this week's edition of the Belau Report. I'm Jay Belau. Our guest this week is a very special guest. He is Shaun Palmer, and he is a councilman for the city from the
Fifth Ward.
Fifth Ward.
Yes.
And you are now a candidate for president of the city council, right?
That's correct. Last week we announced that we're running for the council president. It's technically the council member at large, but everybody calls it the president. And August 13th is the primary, and we sign up at the end of May. But we had lots of people ask about what our plans were and that we need to plan ahead. And I said, well, we'll announce. And we announced, and we're waiting for the current president to make her announcement probably in April. And I think we'll wait to see what she has to say.
That's really exciting.
Thank you. We're real excited. You know, I was elected in 2018. Randy Staver was our council president at that time. I've watched the city council for about 35 years. It's always been an interest of mine. I've watched the other council presidents. As we were talking before, you know, I've been endorsed by the past mayors, Brady and Day, and also been endorsed by Hunziker and Staver, both past presidents of the council. I'm proud of that because they've watched government. They've watched me on the city council since 2018, and they think I'm well qualified to be the president of the city council.
Well, that's good. Now, do you have any competition yet?
Not that we know of. You know, everybody talks that they might want to run, and I've not heard of anybody who I think is credible that's going to be out there running. So we'll see. You know, you never know. I think until June 4th is sign-up day. Sometimes people show up at 4:45, you know, p.m. and 15 minutes before the sign-up, and you never know. And like I always tell everybody, the water's warm. Come on in, and we're ready for August 13th primary.
Yeah. Well, just don't let the stories say, and he runs without opposition, because that lights everybody's candle.
You know, in the city of Rochester, we've always had good competition. I've run for the Fifth Ward. When I won the Fifth Ward, we had 5 different people in the primary. I'm a moderate. I'm a nonpartisan. It's a nonpartisan seat. I think that's important for people to remember. We don't belong to a party. I don't have a party working for me or against me. And again, I'm not running against anything. I'm running for the city of Rochester. I'm running for the citizens of Rochester. You know, the old phrase, you can't fight City Hall. I don't want you to have to. I want City Hall to work for you. And we have a big thing coming up. We have 311 system coming up probably in August, and that will help us with that. But I want us to continue that idea that we work for the citizens of Rochester, and we want to make it better for everybody.
So what's coming up?
The 311 phone system. So let's say you see a pothole or you see a tree that needs trimming, you have a complaint about somebody, you dial 311. We have somebody who'll take that call, and they will make sure somebody gets back to you and say, yes, this is what we're doing. That sidewalk crack will get fixed, or no, it won't get fixed, or you know, we'll take care of that dog barking. And it's just one way to make it easier for citizens not to go, well, do I call Parks? Do I call Public Works? Do I call my council person? It just makes it easier for people. And that's really the goal of government, should be to get it to work for the regular citizen.
That's good.
Yes, I'm proud that we did that. You know, there's some other things that we've done recently. A week or so ago, we met with the county board and the city council, and it was a nice meeting. Sheila Casaden ran that meeting, and we had all the county commissioners, all the city council members there. We were talking about homelessness, and the county's plan to go to zero homelessness and zero functional homelessness is what it's called. And it was a nice meeting. And a friend of ours said, you know, the optics of that, the ability for you to sit there with the county board and work together for the regular people of Rochester was huge. You know, and the other one that I always point out is that we have a pilot program going on with the school superintendent, with the school district. And so the superintendent and I sat down and I said, we have a need for gyms. You have gyms. And so did a council initiative action, and we got 5 of the city council members to approve funding 4 gyms this year. We just got the report back, and there's been very many people using it. They've been excited. Not the best summer, not the best winter. It wasn't that cold, but they had good use, and I think that fills a need for everybody. So that shows how we can work with the county, how we can work with the school district, and we need to do more of that.
And you just took care of the pool.
Big news. Last night, last Monday, I should say, we had the final decision on the pools. It came to us about a month ago without a pool. We've been fighting, they've been trying to close that pool for 20 years. We finally came up with the financing for it. We had $1.8 million left over from the 2012 sales tax extension. And then we'll put a 0.5% tax levy on for the next 8 years. And what that does for Rochester is it gives us the ability to have swim lessons. We have about 400 kids who we can teach swimming to. We'll have lap swimming, we'll have water aerobics, we'll have a water park, not water park, but we'll have splash pads next to it. And so, if you bring your smaller kids and you have a little bit of a teenage kid that wants to go throw the football around or go splash around in some deep water, we'll have that. And we'll have a new bathhouse. That bathhouse was built in 1959. We'll take that bathhouse out, we'll lower that hill down. It'll be 8 lanes, 25 yards, a simple teaching pool. Now we're redoing Soldiers Field pool, and that will have more slides, we'll have a current channel and stuff. It won't be a water park. We don't want people to think it's a water park, but it'll have more enhanced activities. We kept that bathhouse, remodeled it a little bit, but that'll be a big addition to Rochester also.
Good.
Yes.
Now, your theme is Rochester First?
It is Rochester First. It's citizens first. It's how do we move Rochester ahead, listening to people. One of the things that I'm proud of is the fact that, and I'll give you an example of housing. I've sat and listened to 80 different people on housing. What do we need? Bankers and realtors and construction people, and listen. And I've changed my views on what we need to do on that, and I've learned from that. And so we're finally moving ahead with some sales tax extension dollars, and the city staff will be coming to us with some good ideas on how do we get that single family home owner occupied home going again. We had 900 houses for a while. Now we were down to 200 houses. We do need 900 houses a year. And, the American dream still is owning your own home. How do we build wealth? Most people build wealth by owning their home. And that's escaping people right now. And so that's an good example of us listening to what the citizens want and where we're moving ahead. Listening to some professionals and some other ideas that maybe we didn't think about. RPU, we've talked with them, and they're going to come back and help out a little bit with that. So right now, $1 million house and a $300,000 house pay the same for an electric meter. Is that fair? No. And so we're trying to incentivize that $300,000, that home. But right now, we're just incentivizing 8 homes built in Rochester.
Okay. Now, how did you happen to grow into this job?
Well, it's been interesting. I've always been interested in politics. When I was a building inspector for the city, I would read the agendas. I'd go to city council meetings. I watched, I listened to what was going on. Then I ran for office and I lost, and I learned from that. Bob Nowicki was the council person. We had an issue on a road and we disagreed. But Bob became a friend of mine later on. But I learned that Bob talked and listened to everybody in the ward. And so I learned that. And so when I won in 2018, it was a big help, and I learned a lot doing that. Sitting there watching Randy Staver as the president and remembering the other people who've been on president, I thought, I could step into that role. I think it's an advantage to being on the city council. There's a quote from Mike Tyson, everybody has a plan until they get punched in the face. And so you can sit in the back of a council meeting, or you could watch it on TV and go, well, why did Palmer say that? Or why did Palmer do that? And when you sit up there and you have to listen to your other 6 council members and see what they're trying to do, and listen to what they're trying to do, and listen to staff, and then listen to people who come to public hearings, you have to think on your feet. And you have to have some knowledge, you have to have respect for your staff, but also for the citizens who come and talk to you. So, that was kind of the evolution of my decision to run. And we'll see how we do on August 13th.
Okay. As you looked at this meeting that Sheila called with the county commissioners and the city councilman, did you see a way that you can all work together?
I do, and quite frankly, I spend more time listening and talking to the county commissioners than I do the other city council members. You know, the sad part of this is that we don't get together as the city council in a social perspective. We don't and get to know each other from that perspective, and I think that has a disadvantage. My goal would be on the city council is to get everybody kind of rowing that boat in the same direction, listen to other opinions, and see if we can't make, you know, I don't hate to use the word to make a cake, but take that different ideas and mix them together and move ahead. So everybody's listened to and everybody has their opinion known, and we can come up. I've always said 5 votes is what I shoot for. You know, 4 votes will usually pass something, but 5 votes tells you you want that little extra, get that 5th person. You're not always going to get 7, but getting 5 is important.
Okay. Now, let's talk about your plans for the city, besides listening.
Well, the other part of that is construction, and we have a major employer, Mayo Clinic, coming with a $5 billion plan. You know, we just got done with Lourdes, and we listened to everybody on the Lourdes and decided that that was not historic, that we should allow that to be torn down. That is the start of this whole program of what they're going to do. We're going to need more sewer capacity. We're going to have downtown be torn up quite a bit. And sometimes, you know, people come with their plan and they don't take the citizens of Rochester into respect. And so, you know, with my construction knowledge, I should be able to say to them, well, have you thought about this? Have you thought about that? You know, we're going to have probably for 2 years, 2,000 tradespeople coming from all over to live in Rochester and work in Rochester. And how do we accommodate that? And some of the meetings we've had already, I can turn around and say, hey, have we looked at this? Have we looked at that? One of the gentlemen said, well, they can stay in a camper. I said, well, you can't stay in a camper in December, January, and February in Rochester. Everything will freeze. Campers aren't built for that. And they went, oh, yeah, we didn't think about that. So little things like that that will make it better for everybody in Rochester.
Okay. Construction. That will be very useful too to the city.
It will, and it has been already, and I've used that quite a bit, planning and zoning, and I ask those questions on where we're going to go. You know, I ask people, you know, what street do they live on, and they kind of looked at me kind of like odd, but I tell them I was a building inspector, I said, and so I've been on every street in Rochester, and you know, if I remember your house, that's not a good thing. So, but I've been on every street. I grew up in Rochester. I was born here, born at St. Mary's, which is unusual. I always tell everybody my Mayo Clinic number starts with a 2. And so, you know, I've learned a lot in Rochester. I've got 2 boys who are still in Rochester. When I'm done with the city council, then I'll still live in Rochester. I will live with the decisions that we make, hopefully for another 20 years.
What did you think of the decision to have the fire department have a first responder for the downtown?
Well, you know, the chief looked at that and he came back with a decision that he thought was the best one for Rochester. There's so many calls downtown for health reasons and for emergency reasons. So that frees up the other firefighters to do the duty that they really need to be doing. It also helps us out when we add another fire station, that we won't have to hire another crew of firefighters, so that we can just have about the same, but we'll have more people doing medical calls. And that, you know, he used a good thought process. He used a we haven't always done it this way type of attitude, which is I thought refreshing. And you know, it's sad the chief will be retiring at the end of the year, and he's given a lot to his career in Rochester, and I applaud him. He's done a good job.
Okay, and our police are fine.
Well, they're fine. You know, it's difficult to be a police officer at this time. You know, it's they don't get the respect that they used to get. I've been out with them when we've done homeless encampments, and you know, it's so sad when you go to these encampments and see the debris and the unsanitary conditions, and you know, these are our brothers and sisters living in this, and so that's a tough one on the police department. They came to us and asked for a no camping ordinance. Back in 2012, we had a resolution from the city council that said, you know, you can't camp on our property, city property. And it just became very difficult. We have some agencies that told people, well, that's not a law, that's just a suggestion. And so they forced our hand to make it an ordinance. And so we made this ordinance, started in June 12th of last year, and we finally got it in a 4-3 vote. And I'm glad that we got that taken care of.
Good, good. Now, transportation.
Big issue. There's a lot of plans on that, but the biggest one is our rapid bus system. And so we're going to start, I believe, next year, actually starting building bus stops. And what that is basically is out to Cascade Lake. Mayo Clinic owns a parking lot. They're going to build some housing out there. And you're going to be able to take a bus every 10 minutes and hop on that bus, hop off that bus, all the way down to the Fullerton lot. So it'll go past Mayo Clinic, St. Mary's, Mayo Clinic. It'll go past the government center, the library, and anybody can ride it. It'll be fare free. And we achieved that because Mayo Clinic has stepped up and said, we'll pay for 95% of the cost of the operation for the next 20 years. And so, most people don't realize the bus system that we have in Rochester is not paid by a property tax. It's paid by state tax and federal grants and taxes. But your property tax does not go to the bus system. It will not go to the rapid bus system. And so that will help out with downtown. It'll make 2nd Street very congested. But we went and visited the rapid bus in Indianapolis, and you get off the platform onto the bus. If you have a bike, you have a wheelchair, it's no waiting, it's just get right on. The reason we want to go no fare is that it allows people to get on the bus right away, and they don't have to sit there and wait for a ticket or buy a ticket. We do have a federal grant, and we will be funding with our operations on that. I believe it's 9 police officers who will be on and around those buses. And that's important that we have a safe, secure system. I believe it starts at 5 a.m. and it will run to 11 p.m. Every 10 minutes.
Okay. And that operates with the parking lots?
It does, and it starts out to Cascade. The other item that we've been doing is that we've just got a federal grant and some state money. We're building a parking ramp out by the rec center. And so instead of using Shopko North, the old Shopko North as a park and ride, they'll drive their car, park on that ramp. Monday through Friday, take the bus right downtown, help out with that congestion there. But then on the weekends, when we have hockey and swimming going on, and we have the best pool in Minnesota. That 50-meter pool is the best one. The second best is the University of Minnesota. But we attract a lot of swimmers, a lot of competition. The hockey people do. If you ever drive by on a Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, that parking lot is full. It wasn't built to capacity, but that parking ramp will use that. So you get a double benefit. It won't be empty in the weekends, and it won't be empty during the weeks, and you'll see the best bang we can for the taxpayer.
How about the Civic Center and the use of the Civic Center?
The Civic Center has been an ongoing opportunity that we finally, I think, have hit the right place, and that is it has a commission that oversees it, and it's being run by private firms. And the private firms are incentivized to bring in concerts and bring in activity, and they're moving ahead. It was interesting to see Fargo Dome lost $1 million right after COVID, and we just about broke even. And so that kind of shows you how nimble they can be and how we're moving ahead. It's an ongoing uphill battle, and you're competing for concerts, you're competing for conventions. Life has changed since COVID. Not everybody's going to conventions, and they're not all coming here to do that. And so that's a difficulty. I think we'll have good news coming up in the airport, that we'll get some more direct flights, which would be nice to have. That has changed a lot. Right now, you have to, as a city, incentivize, which means help pay for some of the cost of having airlines fly in and out of your city, and basically guarantee them that they won't lose money. But if you can incentivize them and get some good routes, that will help out Rochester. And we're lucky, the size of the Rochester is, to have an international airport. And it's one of those items that as a city council member, you don't think about when you're running for election, but when you get that 1,000-page agenda, you know that you've got something from the airport.
Okay. And the arts and music.
You know, we have civic music, and that has changed the name. I'm going to forget the name, but that changed its name to be more public. I think it's public music, and they do neighborhood concerts, and they also do it down by the riverside. And down by the riverside has been a big draw for everybody on Sunday nights. But the other one is in the parks, and it's a forward concerts, I believe it's called. So in each one of the wards, they have two bands that come in. One band's the warm-up band, then the second band. You know, at Cook Park, when we do it at the 5th Ward, we probably have 500 people, and it's just neat to be out on a June night and go to a concert and watch people, and they have food vendors there, and it's just nice to sit with your neighbors. And I'll probably make 4 of the 6. You know, because they do one in each ward, and probably do 4 out of the 6, and it's neat to see. So, you know, not everybody in the United States, citywide, we're very unique to have a music. Arts Center is doing well. They've got their a new director from 2 or 3 years ago. They pretty much are breaking even. They're doing better than they had in the past. We fund them a little bit. We fund civic music a little bit. We fund 125 Live a little bit. For items that we can't do or we see a need, but it'd be better to have somebody from the outside do that. We do that with our neighbors. Our neighbors has a private board, but we fund a little bit of that to have neighborhood groups get together, and how do they facilitate that, and what do they add. So, you know, Rochester does some unique things, and those are some of those.
We have a great community, don't we?
We do, and you know, I always use the quote from James J. Hill. You know, great cities don't happen by accident. You know,
Yeah.
there's planning, and you have to think about the people who have come in front of us, who have laid the groundwork for this. And you know, you go all the way back to the nuns of CC that started at St. Mary's. But you know, we've had, you know, some people who just recently passed on, and you know, one of them is Chubb Stewart, and a person that was born and raised in Rochester, loved Rochester, and you know, was a site manager at IBM, and just was a county commissioner, and just brought the love of Rochester with him to whatever he did. And I remember being in his office with a picture of the Y, and how fond he was of the Y, and so, you know, we forget people who came before us and moving ahead. But the other side of that, you know, I worked at the Dan Abram Healthy Living Center as a swim instructor for 13 years and worked the front desk. We have a lot of different cultures coming to Rochester, and it's great to talk to these people and see why did they come to Rochester, where are they from, the different languages that they speak. You know, we have a great community of East Africans that are here. We have a lot of people from Asia who are here. Not everybody understands that in Rochester, and that's who's staying in our apartments, and then they have kids and they stay here. And I taught swimming to a Somali gal who is a doctor at Mayo Clinic, and her 2 kids are in the school district, and hope she runs for school board because she'd be a good member. And so it's nice to have established Rochester, but the new Rochester that we're moving ahead with, and I think that's a good mix.
And the Mayo Clinic and the other clinic and the new jobs that are being created by spin-off research and technology just really gonna make this place cook.
Well, you know, we got John Wade with Ready, and Ready has done such a good job where unemployment, I think, is like 1.8% in Rochester. But you look at the Mayo Clinic, and anybody in the world would like to have a Mayo Clinic. The jobs that they have and the industry that they have, and really the kindness that they bring to your community. You know, I believe they have 40,000 employees. But as Mr. Wade would tell you, you got to make sure that our outlying neighbors are doing well too, because we do need the Spring Valleys and the Cassins and the St. Charles and the Winonas. Mayo Clinic has employees in 81 of the 87 counties in
Wow.
Minnesota. And so I think that's a neat perspective.
And that is incredible for shopping and for transportation and all the amenities that we have for the neighboring communities.
We do, and they use our rec center, they come use our trails. And one of the things I didn't realize, but I was reading the Rochester magazine, but the number of restaurants that Rochester has for a city of our size to have the scope and it's so neat to see the different restaurants that are opening in Rochester. And you go visit them and they're busy, and one might close, but another one opens. And it's an exciting time to be here in Rochester. And the next 8 years are going to be exciting, but we've had that in the past.
Okay, let's talk about your organization in our last 5 minutes.
Okay.
Okay. Have you got a chairman of your committee yet?
I do. I have about 20 people that I have, we'll call it a kitchen cabinet. What I'm really proud about, and I hadn't talked to you about this, but we have over 240 people who have donated to our campaign already. And so $100 or less. I don't take any more than $100. And so that has been an eye-opening sit down with people and tell them your story and what your plan is for the city. And then they said, well, how can we help? And they'll donate. And so we've raised almost $20,000 so far. And I think that's a good mark to have. And so it's not like the good old days where you plan for August 13th. Voting starts, I believe, June 27th. And so we have early voting. And so that adds a different marketing technique. And how do you get your word out? How do you get your name recognition out? In the middle of July, not everybody's thinking about politics. And so with a low voter turnout, you need to make sure that you get to the voter that's going to vote. And is your message resonating with them?
Okay. What can we do to help the candidates who are looking to run our community? What do you have for suggestions?
Well, one of the big ones is Sheila Casade and the chamber put on a So You Want to Run campaign. And so it was one night and 2 weekends, Saturdays, that they got together and learned how to run a campaign. They brought people in, and I and Sheila sponsored that and sat there and gave them our knowledge. We had 38 people who decided that they wanted to learn, maybe not run, but maybe help out a candidate. And that was for the school board, county commission, and city council. And I will post this on my website. Go visit websites and call candidates and listen to what they have to say. They should be able to explain their future and what's important to us, and how do they listen, and what their experience is.
Okay. Now, anything else you'd like to say to our viewers and our voters?
Well, to me, this is an honor. I've been an honor to represent the Fifth Ward on the City Council. It's an honor to be there. And for me, this is a challenge to get up and step up and be the council president. And that's why I threw my hat in the ring, and we're going to see how it goes. And I'm confident that we'll do well.
And your family is all on board? And
my family and my friends and everybody. Some people ask, why do you want to be in politics? But it's important. It's part of our world. And if you're not involved, then you're sitting on the sidelines. And you need to be involved in some way.
Okay. And that's a message for all our viewers.
Yes, it is.
Okay. Thank you very much for all you've contributed to this program over the years. We know you're always fired up.
Well, I appreciate everything you've done for Rochester, and it's been a great almost 50 years now.
Okay. All right. Thank you, our viewers, for being interested in the city and the cities around us. And thank you for your interest in politics and government. And we'll be here next week, same time, same channel. Have a very good week and a very good night.